Call meeting to order. Stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilwoman Schott, would you please lead us in prayer?
Yes, I would like to do the Lord's prayer, and then at the end have a moment of silence for miracle. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. And silence. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, Rod is absent.
Yes, he wasn't very well.
Okay, he won't be here tonight. Mr. McKinney, I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Bennett,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
and Schott.
Yes.
All right, minutes?
Motion for the minutes.
Second.
Bennett,
Yes.
Thomas,
Abstain.
Richards,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
and Schott.
No,
Is there a correction needed?
I just think it should be moved until no issue, I mean,
Oh.
we're good. But you have enough work, so,
Yeah.
okay.
What do you expect to be more details?
Some of the situations that took place during the meeting.
On all minutes? Okay. Good. I just thought I would ask so I know what to change. Okay.
Okay, so now we're down to Bill. Yeah, Bill? Or did we just do that? Bill.
No, that was minutes.
Okay. Okay, so we got bills now.
Motion for the bills.
Second.
Bennett,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
and Schott.
Yes.
Workers' overtime report.
We're just
Got
on
one.
Yeah, just one.
This one, they're catching up. Fireman's time.
Motion for the fireman's time.
Second.
Bennett,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
and Schott.
Yes.
Okay, clerk.
I think it is the first time ever in 20 years I have nothing to report. We're going to go down to the legislation. It will be the second reading of ordinance number 2116, an ordinance authorizing the village administrator and the clerk treasurer to certify delinquent account balances to the Stark County auditor and to be entered on the property tax duplicate as a lien and collected as other taxes. You have resolution number 2017. Sorry, it's an ordinance. An ordinance authorizing advertisement for bids and sale of personal property no longer needed for any municipal purpose of the village of Beach City, Ohio. First, you have ordinance number 2118, an ordinance authorizing expenditure for a SCBA compressor, fill station, and cascade bottles for the Beach City Fire Department, also expenditure for 15 NFPA 1981 2018 edition compliant 4,500 PSI CDAs, each with two 45-minute cylinders, back frame, and face piece voice amplification devices shall be included along with a total of 5 additional face pieces and advertisement for bids for the same. This is your first reading. We would like to advertise this tomorrow, get it in the paper, so we can proceed with the FEMA grant.
Motion to suspend the rules on 2018, right?
2118.
2118.
Second.
Bennett,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Richards, Bailey,
Yes.
and Schott.
Yes.
Motion to pass?
Bennett,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
and Schott.
Yes.
Just, I did include a section in there for the emergency legislation.
Yes, you did. You did, right?
Yes.
Yes, you did. Section number 10. That was prepared by the solicitor. 2119 is an ordinance to authorize the mayor of the Village of Beach City, Ohio to execute participant certificates with American Municipal Power Incorporated. Can this be our first reading for this?
Did you say they needed it?
They need it tomorrow. Oh, actually, they needed it today, but.
I think it would have to be first reading because I don't think that has the emergency.
Okay. We'll do emergency next.
That's one.
Yeah, I'll modify.
2119.
Yeah, that's a contract that we gotta sign.
And then we have the solicitor prepare the information from your executive session of what you provided for the pay raises. And he did. And when doing so, it was perfect, except for by passing it his way, we would have like 3 or 4 different types of legislation for pay raises. And you really don't want to do that. You want to combine everything together on one, which we had the new full-time police officer on his own, and then we had the original one, then we had the new one. And I think, and then 3 instead of 4. I asked him to combine them on what you have is ordinance number 2120. It is an ordinance establishing salaries, hourly rates of pay, and benefits for positions in the service of the Village of Beach City, Ohio. Amy went over this very carefully today to make sure we brought together all the ordinances. There was one I missed giving the solicitor under the police department, because we had, up to this point, the full-time police officer on his own ordinance.
Oh,
So I listed by just handwriting under the date of 2021, he makes $16 an hour. Should you choose to increase that in 2022 or 2023, you need to tell us so we can give that to Stephen and he will adjust this ordinance. You're welcome to take time and look at it, go over it. You have all the original information. I just had him compile it into one piece of legislation. That way it can be followed more closely by the auditors and by Amy and I. So I consider this the first reading. And that's all that I have.
yeah, 2117.
That I read it.
21, yeah, the 18 one, this one here is the one for the other stuff, that's a separate one.
Oh, yeah, that was, we had to adjust this.
Oh, that's okay?
Yes,
So
yes,
it's
it's the same
included.
thing. We had to take this and expand this here.
Okay, so it's in there, okay, good enough. All right.
Debbie, did we do resolution 2111-1? Did I miss that?
That's what I was wondering too, I thought today.
I'd have to go
For
back.
a second reading?
I thought it would be a third.
Well, it was the first and last minutes.
No,
Okay, let's look here, second, well, let's go with it.
I have.
Second reading?
No, it'd be your third tonight, 2111, a resolution to certify delinquent account balances. No, I read that.
Did it?
Yeah, that was the old one, Debbie, I'm sorry.
Oh,
That was the original one, and then Stephen make corrections
Oh, is
on
that
it.
what I?
He changed it, made it an
Okay.
ordinance, not a
Yeah.
resolution.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd be
We're done with
scrambling.
it, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
thank you, Dan. Is there anybody on the list there, Jack?
Mr. Bolzer.
All right, well, I got the solicitor Babbitt's email today about the cleanup, and that's all taken care of. I did want to address like the my group's demeanor. I came solo, I mean, I don't have a group, I don't know anybody else, nobody else here talks to me, so. All I do is everything that I ask for from paperwork, so, and I have some additional paperwork, so to follow up on the sewage down at the ballpark, in 2019, on the EPA's website, there in fact was a sewer leak, and that was because the screw pump failed.
You want this?
But I just want to at least address it and bring it up as a, it did happen, so.
What was the date on that, Jack?
March 22nd, 2019.
Then I also have an EPA report from, forgot my glasses, this year. In that report, I highlighted the areas that was kind of what I'm looking for. In 2020, it looks like there were 17 leaky hydrants. And at the time, as far as the EPA was concerned, which represent a majority of the water loss, no plan to address, so there's that one that's highlighted. Then from the leak detectors report from last year, there were 4 identified leaks, estimated at about 7,200 gallons per day, which would equate to 2.6 million gallons for the year. Now, if it's 17 of those about the same rate, the average of the 4 would be 657,000 gallons, and at 17 hydrants, that would be 11.1 million gallons of water leak. And then
Did
the only
anybody
other,
remember 17 leaks in the hydrants? I knew 4, and we got 2 of them
We got
fixed.
4, yeah, and we got one more to do?
2, we got 2 to do.
Well, yeah, but I think we only got one more, we got 2 more to do.
2 more hydrants.
So we got 2 more to put in, as soon as we get some people.
so I just wanted to at least just put it out there as facts for, at least for council to start considering maybe figuring out what we can do about utility decreases. Another thing, the videos, after the last officer was hired, I had mentioned maybe not posting that video, but there hasn't been any video since, and I was just wondering.
He's trying to
I
upload.
figured.
Yeah, well, there's been a problem with YouTube, and
Gotcha.
he's called them, and he's
Nope.
still working
I
on
just
that.
wanted to check on
Yeah,
that.
that's what that's all about.
And then last thing I have is if there's going to be utilities committee meeting scheduled anytime soon.
That there, we talked to AMP last week, and they're gonna send us some information, and then we'll have, so that'll be after the next council meeting sometime. Hopefully, they'll get it back to us in the next 2 weeks.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Guys, the surveying for the cemetery, to be able to annex it into town. I called at least a dozen different places. I got voicemails, I got no calls, nobody answered. And then I had like 3 people say, okay, well, we'll get back to you. They never did. The only one that did was Cardinal Precision, and this has been the last 6-7 weeks. So I was wondering if you guys would give me the okay to go ahead and have them come up. They said they can get it done by November 5th, and then we'll send it to the township.
So this is,
This
what they're
is-
doing, it's a price for this, but it's not down in the past.
No, this is a down pat price, 24, what was it, 24.75?
$24.75.
Yeah,
And what do they gotta do, just survey?
they got surveyed the 2. There's 2 pieces to that, which I
Yes.
didn't know, but they told.
Yes.
There's that little piece over on one side, well, they gotta do those 2. So, yeah, that's all it is, it's just boundaries basically, and then we'll ship it up to,
In other words, that's put it on the city,
be
bring it
in the
into
city limits.
Because
Right,
the survey, and if I'm not mistaken, was done, the
Mhm.
survey itself, years ago.
well, I'm sure we can't find that. You know what I'm saying?
I would have thought it'd been in county if that would have been done. Maybe it wasn't done, John.
Hmm?
I thought it was.
Think they need a new one anyway?
We just need, if we're gonna pursue annexation, we need an accurate description and plat showing
And
what
I
exactly is
understand that,
the
Jeff,
area. So,
Steve.
so even if it was done and something differed, and I don't know if it did or didn't, then
In other words, they're gonna do both of the plaque and surveying the thing to make sure where the corners are at, right?
the annexation plan.
Okay.
That we would then have the exact description that would go to the township so that we know police is now, that these services would now be inside.
Debbie, would that money come out of the city
Cemetery.
because what, they annex it or the cemetery? I would think it'd come out of the city. Just an idea, so I might be wrong.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure. We could look at it.
We have the original survey and map when it was done, when it was given to us by the Stanford family. And I'm assuming there was a change made of some kind when they expanded the sewer department. I'm not sure what all happened, even though I was here, I don't remember.
That's right.
And I don't know if that survey will
Forgot about that.
would help in the situation of the Stark County, what they need to annex it, but we would also need to survey it and make sure we have all our corners set up exactly right, because of two people being interned down there now,
That's right.
then we could buy the pins and start laying it out to sell to everybody else.
Well, it didn't have, actually, the 3 acres didn't have nothing to do with the sewer itself. In other words, when they expanded sewer, they didn't come in with that 3 acres at all.
Yeah, that's
So,
good.
I think so anyway. So maybe they'll come up with all that stuff. I would say the city would end up paying for that, being as we want to annex it into the city.
That makes sense.
I don't want to take it out of the cemetery, I wonder if I can help it.
All right. You can make a motion if you want.
I so move.
You want this.
Second.
Thank you, Dave.
Bennett,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
and Chuck.
Yes.
Okay, fire department. Mr. Ames, the chief.
So, total calls year to date in 2021 are 259 runs. As of the same date in 2020, we ran 204. Our guys have been extremely busy. I'm sure you hear the siren go off, especially in the daytime now. We've been busy. I'm proud to say we're turning 99% of our calls. We're never going to turn 100% as long as we're volunteer. I hate to, I mean, that's just a fact. So at times we won't have a crew available, but we're doing very well. Our guys and gals across the street kind of deserve an attaboy for everything we've been through, especially in the last few months. It's been crazy. Mutual aid summer, we give mutual aid to Brewster 3 times, give mutual aid to Strasburg 2 times, and receive mutual aid from Brewster 2 times. I had emergency legislation for the bidding of the FEMA grant. I appreciate you guys getting that through. So the prices, everybody we've talked to as far as distributors on that equipment, there will be a price increase on all that equipment come November 1. Obviously, if we're behind this price increase, that's just more money coming out of our funds that FEMA would have covered. So that's why we're pushing this. So this bid will come down. We will accept bids next meeting. And I'm asking that I'm able to zoom in on that meeting because I cannot be here. I'll be at work at Timken Steel. But I will make myself available via Zoom. And I would like to be a part of accepting them bids so we can move forward with that equipment and get moving in the right direction.
Could you have Dale come down here too, just
I will.
in case some would go?
I will.
haywire?
I'll have a representative here, Dale, Dan, somebody will be here. And like I said, I'd like to at least zoom in and kind of be a part of it as much as I can be. Squad 135 is finally back in our department. Total cost on that was $3,796.04. I will tell you, and you're going to kill me as soon as I say this, it is still getting hot in the rear end. They've looked at that rear end and they cannot find anything wrong with it. I talked to a guy at work the other day. He's pretty good with cars. He was telling me that the wheel bearings in that model of truck are actually cooled by the rear end oil. I'm assuming is what he meant. So he said if the wheel bearing's bad on the outside, he said you will possibly smell that gear oil too. Gear oil's a very distinct smell. It's definitely gear oil getting hot. I've told this to Liberty. They've checked it, they kept it extra days, test drove it even further, and everything as far as temperatures within spec in the rear end. So they released the truck. We're running it. We're not swapping our squads out as we speak. We're trying to run 135, make sure we got all the kinks worked out of it. The odds are it's probably gonna end up back in the garage eventually. But the problem I have right now is we are still waiting to service them other 2 trucks. We had a call for a person trapped in machinery out in the township. End of last week, we had to take our brush truck and we could barely keep the thing running to get it out there. It did this before on us. I believe it was a sensor of some type. So we're gonna have to move on getting these other trucks serviced. I'm probably gonna call either Liberty back to see if they can get them in and move. The only reason I'm bringing this up, we've approved all this stuff, but it might be a little bit more money now on the grass truck pending what they find on it. But like I said, it was all we could do to keep it running, to get the four-wheeler out there and get it back. So it's definitely gonna have to go soon. I would prefer the grass truck not even leave the building in the shape it's in right now, so. I'm gonna talk to the guys tomorrow at our meeting, see where they think may be the best place to take it, and we'll move. And like I said, it's all been approved. And
Did
then-
they do the wheel bearings on the truck?
No, they did not. They did, when they started with the truck, they detected 3 leaks. It had an oil leak, it had an antifreeze leak, and it had an exhaust leak. His assumption was that the smell was probably from one of them leaks, and that we would smell it for a little bit, and then it would clear up. We've had it on, I don't know, a handful of calls, and every time it comes back, it smells hot.
So you ever put your hands on it to see which one side or the other side? whether it is
We
hot?
actually, believe it or not, we used our new Lunars that you guys purchased for us. We actually got under there with one of them, and we shot, and it seems like the driver's side is getting hotter than the passenger side. So I think the culprit might be in there. I think what we're gonna do or talk about doing is, instead of going back to Liberty, maybe send it to somebody else for a second opinion. And I mean, we've been there before with the other squad. They give us quotes on stuff, and we take it somewhere else and they'd find it, so. And not anything against Liberty, I think they're a great dealership. They just, for some reason, they're not able to find it, and I mean, we gotta get it one way or another, so. But for now, we're gonna continue to run it. I'm gonna talk to the guys tomorrow, see where we're sending the other 2 units out. The grass truck will definitely be the next to go with the issues it's having. And then the squad 136 should be just a general oil change and service. We shouldn't run into anything with that. We haven't had any problems, so. No, I know, we'll keep our fingers crossed. The Lunar ticks are all in service. They've all been programmed. I'm waiting on lanyards from them, but we compromised. We got them in the truck. We're using them. We'll probably train on them, I would say next week. We'll probably do some training with them. But they're all programmed. They're all in service. And so far, we haven't had a chance to use them on a call, which is probably a good thing. But hopefully soon we'll get out and get to use them and get our guys a little more familiar with them. 131, 132, 133, that's the 3 big trucks, and this is already approved. I'm not asking for any money. They go to Advantech next week. If you remember months ago, they were months out on getting the service. So that's finally coming next week, so them trucks will start going. Not any foreseeable problems that I know of, but obviously when we get into pump tests, we're talking valves and everything else, and I mean, if it fails, it's gotta be fixed, so. But they'll go next week.
You take one at a time?
One at a time will go down. We'll probably start with, I'll actually probably start with 131 because I know it's got a valve that needs some work. It's on the front, it's an air actuated valve, so we'll probably start with it. And then once they get one done, we'll take the other one down and replace it. So we won't ever be without. The only thing we will be without for a short time will be a tanker, but we'll have an engine in town at all times. So. And that'll be next week. I want to remind everybody there's a burn ban in effect. There's no open burning in the month of October and in the month of November. That's from 6A to 6P. So we've had some issues with some residents in town. We will respond to any open burn complaint we're called to. We're going to go non-emergency. And even if you're burning, and if you're burning wood, it should still be clean cut firewood. It shouldn't be anything but. It should still be a 3x3x3, obviously not during the hours of 6A to 6P in the month of October and November. I mean, we've been fair, we've been given warnings, and if we continue to have problems, then we'll have to proceed further. But just so everybody's aware, the burn ban is in effect. It's both this month and next month at 6A to 6P. So after 6P, you can have a 3x3 ceremonial fire with clean cut seasoned firewood. The only thing I actually need from council tonight, and we will officially accept this across the street tomorrow, it'll be the third reading of Erica Owens' resignation. Erica has let her cards expire. She has a family now, she has a little one, which we understand takes a lot of time. So we've run two readings across the street, tomorrow will be the last, and I'm gonna go ahead and jump the gun and get council to approve that tonight if they would.
You want us to approve her,
Yes, please. A resignation.
can she come back on later then if she decides to, that, any problem?
She could, I'm gonna tell you she's not going to. She let both her EMT certificate and her firefighter certificate expire because she's extremely busy with the little one. She works a full-time job, and she just don't have time anymore. I mean, it's, everybody, moms know how busy it is, so.
Second. Bennett?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Richards? Yes. Bailey?
Yes.
And Schott?
Yes.
Then the last thing I got, just a reminder again, the quarter auction will be on Saturday, October 30th. The doors open at 5, the auction starts at 6. The ladies are getting prepared for that, and I think it should go over pretty well. And that's it. Fire department will be active at trick or treat like we always are, so, and I appreciate for taking in consideration the quarter auction and also our bingo, so that makes it pretty tough on us when we do it them days, so. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Chief Guy.
Okay. A couple things. First thing, we're receiving multiple fireworks complaints from people letting off fireworks in town. The out of town ones, obviously, we can't do anything with. The in-town ones, you know, 4th of July, holiday, stuff like that, depending on what's going on there, we usually don't say much, but this is now October, and with all the dry leaves, and with it being a burn ban anyways,
They haven't did nothing the last 4 or 5 days.
anyone caught letting off fireworks will be charged, no warnings. Will we catch them with them, there will be charges at this point. I've given enough warnings and have tried to be nice to people and said, look, we can't, at this point with how dry it is and the dry leaves, I can't take that chance of fire breaking out because someone's letting fireworks off at 11 o'clock at night. Then my 2 new officers, I've been training with them. I started training, came back from my quarantine vacation Wednesday. Been training with them, working on them. I've been working remotely with them, and then was out with them last Wednesday. They handled a call, they handled it perfectly. I showed up after the fact. It was a decent call, handled themselves perfectly fine. So they're pretty well through their training. They're former officers, so the training for them is not as intensive as if we were hiring a new officer. So they're doing a great job there.
Where do you think you got this 19 in? That you were quarantined?
There's a couple different places. I know I didn't get it from.
Your
everybody.
kids or nobody got it, kid?
My wife got it, kids did not.
Okay.
Kids have not shown any, they haven't shown any symptoms, so and we've really tried to separate them from us individually when we've gotten it, so it's, you know,
I
hopefully.
was just wondering.
Yeah, I've got some ideas, I just don't, I was in Cleveland at a meeting up there, at a hearing up there, and I'm wondering if I didn't pick it up from there, it was really going strong there. I've applied for a VEST grant, the one we talked about last meeting, I believe, or the meeting before that, but I did apply for that grant. I'm attempting to get new vests for the officers. They'll pay a portion of it, and a portion of that $1,000 you guys approved would go for it as well. The vest costs are right around $1,000. It should be about $125 cost to the officers and $125 cost to the village.
If they happen to leave here, do we give them a chance to pay back the other half if they want the vest with them?
I did last time, but for $125, it means I keep an officer safe in another department. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
You know, it's pennies for life, you know, it's well worth it. Last time I was a little more concerned about, this time it's like, you know, I look at it as officer safety no matter where they're at. Let's see, and the body camera grant, I had to reapply for the OCJS to be able to get into there in order to apply for the body camera grant, so I am working on that right now, finishing that up this week. So hopefully we'll get that submitted and get that approved through there. The SUV has not had any more headlight issues. So I really appreciate all the work that's been done on it with Nick's Garage and down at Ridgeway down in New Philly.
Well, Ridgeway is the one that fixed it, right, instead of that $1,100.
Correct. Ridgeway found it, and I'm not blaming anyone. Nick's has done great work for us. They really have. It's just, they found something else that could have been easily overlooked, so I'm
Do you
happy with
end up
both of them.
telling them what you end up doing so they have some idea?
I haven't talked to him, but I'm sure I'll
I think it'd be nice if you did.
just let him know.
Sure.
Absolutely. And something I need you guys to consider, I'm not bringing it up yet, but I'm considering putting on an additional supervisor position. This will be another sergeant's position, part-time. Just looking for people that I can look at promoting and training to replace other positions and be in the positions if something happens with another position. I'm always 2-3 steps ahead of what I'm doing. But we had 2 sergeant positions when I first started. I'd like to go ahead and bring that back. There's obviously lots of legislation and paperwork as far as pay, because I've got one full-time sergeant and a part-time sergeant. Obviously, those pay differences will be.
Sorry, but I don't know what the
Now, is that gonna be covered underneath the new pay ordinance, or I gotta bring that up before we do it?
I had to bring everything up. I'm just letting you guys know that I'm starting to work on it, just so it's in you guys' head, something to talk about, something to think about the last couple months, so I don't just spring it on you at a council meeting, say, hey, I wanna do this. I'm getting my ducks in a row to try to add that second sergeant's position
Well,
back
I'm
on.
just thinking so we don't have to bring up another ordinance when it's done.
Yeah, we have an ordinance already with the part-time pay for sergeants, but I just need to make sure that everything is kosher as far as the position, if I have to title it differently, because I have a full-time sergeant making more than what the part-time sergeant would make. So I've got to look at that. Yes, Debbie?
And Amy just brought up the fact that, looking at the ordinance, it says that Stephen wrote, police sergeant part-time, okay? It's got a 20, 21, 22, and 23 pay amount, okay?
Okay.
Then we have the police officer full-time. Is that always going to be a sergeant position? I didn't write the word sergeant in there for him to put in
That's,
there.
if you had it as a full-time officer, that's fine, because it could change. And I would say if it's a full-time
That's in the
officer.
old, I just went off of whatever was
Right,
there,
and you
because
were
wrote,
right.
these are all good.
Right, but the full-time, I was concerned that, did he have to be a sergeant to be full-time? Not necessarily, correct?
Correct, because
Okay.
Greg was full-time and a captain.
Okay, okay.
So if something would happen to Mark, then it might be a patrolman, but I would prefer it to be either a captain or sergeant's position for my full-timer.
I get it.
Just because they deal with my day-to-day admin operations.
Correct.
So I need them to be able to make decisions.
Okay.
Other than that, the other thing I'm gonna ask for this year with trick or treat, could I get $200 for candy?
Thank you. Got it.
Motion for the $200.
I'm sorry, was that Richards? Thank you. Bennett?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Richards?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
And Schott?
Yes.
And I believe that is all I have at this
All
time.
right, thanks, chief. Mr. Spivey. Sir, you're up.
Okay, wastewater. Our new employee started today. And hopefully, one of these days I'll bring him to council and have you guys all be introduced to him. His name's Eric Agnes. He's from Navarre. I actually went to school with him. Seems like he's gonna work out pretty good. He had a good first day today, so. Also, Lonnie and I are looking into our SCADA system. We've replaced the water side of our SCADA system in the recent years, but the wastewater side is still running off of Windows 98 computer. So the gentleman that did our water side was supposed to come back and do the wastewater side, and we've had a hard time getting a hold of him or having him call us back. So we're looking at other avenues there to get that upgraded. So just to let you guys know. Street department, Tara and I had Mr. Savage and I had a conversation about leaf pickup, and we decided October 11th through November 24th would be our leaf collection dates this year. Let's see, I spoke with the job foreman for the paving project. That still is up in the air. We had some issues with some storm grates being too low for the new pavement. There's actually like a pretty good drop if you were to drive through one of the storm grates. So they're gonna come back and do some work there to try to taper those a little bit. So I spoke with him, and I'm just waiting for him to get a crew here to actually do that work. It shouldn't take him but a couple hours to do, and then that project will be completed. Also, the gas company sent out an email to us here about they're gonna be in town doing some GPS work, so they can map all their gas lines, the new ones and the old ones that they've installed. So if you see them, you'll know what it's for, and if someone calls and says it's the gas company, they're mapping their network. And then I think I told you guys last time I approved the repairs to the roof, and I have a contractor that I met on Saturday here. He's going to build us a cap for the chimney that's up there, so we're getting water down in the chimney, and it's seeping down through the walls back there as well. So once we get the roof repairs, the chimney cap on, we shouldn't have any more issues for quite some time with the roof. And that is all I have. I apologize, it's a short report this week, but my time has been spent on other things.
Thank you, Jim. Mr. Babbitt, anything for us?
So just two things. First up is, it doesn't require an executive session. I can just give an update on the pending litigation. Jim and I attended court on September 22nd. He underwent extreme cross-examination and questioning under pressure, but in the end was able to prevail. So we did get a writ of restitution issued by the magistrate, and then subsequently signed off on by the judge on September 27th. So there's now a brief period of time that we wait. After that, there'll be another notice, and we proceed with the statutory process to move that forward. So that's item one, unless there's any questions, that's where we stand. Second was, I was asked to look into legislative alert that was provided by AMP relative to congressional activity and specifically work that's being done on a reconciliation bill. As part of that, one piece that I think caused concern for AMP, not surprising, was the implementation of a Clean Energy Performance Program, or CEPP. So I guess in the part of that reconciliation bill, there is this CEPP. And at last meeting, I was handed this and asked to look into it, which I did. The outline is pretty self-explanatory, but I also checked the status of it. Essentially, it would require electricity suppliers to meet a 4% clean energy growth target each year. So the idea is phasing out fossil fuels and phasing in green energy. You'd have to increase green energy by 4% each year, and those who are able to meet that target would get grants equal to $150 for each megawatt hour above 1.5% of the previous year's clean energy target. So it sounds like a possible incentive. That's the carrot. The stick is, if you miss the goal, then there's a penalty of $40 per megawatt hour that would be charged if you're unable to make it. So it's probably no surprise that those entities that would be best able to implement quick infrastructure updates to move to green energy and meet this 4% target are the larger ones. And the mid-sized, smaller ones like the village or even AMP, they may not, in which case they get the penalty of $40 per megawatt hour. competitively, they fall out of the market while the bigger ones are able to compete. So it hasn't passed. It's been the subject, not specifically the CEPP, but part of that has been the subject of, there's been news reports about various, say, discussions that are taking place in the U.S. House of Representatives about what should be in it, what shouldn't. So those are ongoing, but it hasn't passed yet. It is, I know AMP in their legislative alert does say member help is needed. And I know there's concern about rising cost of utilities, not just in the village, but all across the country. And so there is member help, and they give some ideas about how people can take steps or contact congressmen if they think that this is a bad idea. Maybe some people think it's a good idea, you want to express support for it, but it's a way that you can really at least try to reach out to people that are directly making decisions that could result in increases to small to medium-sized utilities. So I have a couple of letters that were issued in support of that, one from various professors and members of nonprofit boards, and also another from several businesses, both of which are supporting it. So I have that information if anybody wants a copy or to take a look at it.
Gene, do you think that's gonna be possible to be able to do that?
You're gonna have to.
Do what?
Do what?
Make the mill about
No.
the amount of
We don't
electricity.
produce the electricity for any.
So it actually just goes to the one who's producing it then.
Is this-
Do they pass it down to us to make a,
Or is this a federal?
This is federal,
Okay.
and it,
You know, if they were really seriously, if they were really serious about clean energy, they'd go neutral. That's the best way, it's the safest way. It is, but they're not serious about it, because you're gonna use fossil fuels for that, just like the electric cars, it's insane.
yeah, and I'm not.
Oh, no, I understand.
Some people may be for it, some are against it. What's interesting is they said, since public power, in the bill, it says that the cost should be associated with complying should be borne by the shareholders and owners of utilities, and that no costs are passed on to ratepayers. Even if we're AMP, it's public power, and those costs, we all own the system. So the village owns the system, AMP owns the system, so the idea that you are the shareholders. So if the legislation in its final form said costs shall not be passed down to customers and instead shall be borne by the shareholders of AMP are villages such as the village of Beach City. So the idea that it doesn't, at least in that example, doesn't pass down, it will. So it may be an example, things that people could voice
last
their
I knew we
support
got
of.
132 of them. We started out with 88 when it started. Then they ended up buying in West Virginia,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, Indiana, so it ended up 132 at that time.
Different
AMP members.
AMP members?
Yes.
So, and that is all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Babb. All right, anything else? Okay. Meeting adjourned.